Present. Mr. Bowman?
Here.
Mr. Bolin?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Oberlin?
Here.
All members are present.
We have a quorum. Item 3 on the agenda, the establishment of future meeting date. I think the Secretary's polled the board, and the date that works for everybody in October is October 30th at 11 a.m. That's still good with everybody? Good, all right. That will be the meeting date. The next item is the approval of the August 2023 meeting minutes. Anybody have a motion on that?
Seconded.
Moved by Vice Chair and seconded by Tim. Any discussions, questions, comments, corrections? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Unanimous approval of the minutes. The next issue is the annual employee cost of living adjustment. As like everybody, state government, as we get to the beginning of next fiscal year, we have to deal with the compensation issue, and employees are looking forward to a cost of living adjustment. So I'm going to call on Vice Chair Bauer to make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. After taking a look at this issue, studying it, getting some recommendations, I move that the Capital Commission approve a 4% cost of living salary increase for capital operations staff, a one-time 3% lump sum bonus for the 6 capital operations managers, and that the Commission approve the creation of 2 new classifications, 1, tour guide and art registrar, with both of those duties, and 2, artist and decorative painter.
Is there a second to that motion?
Yep.
Support.
Commissioner Brown supports. Conversation?
And just a couple of comments. Of course, a lump sum bonus is not added to the base pay of managers. And the 2 new classifications will be filled by existing employees to more accurately reflect their current job responsibilities. So it's not adding 2 new positions, it's just reclassifying 2 positions.
Any questions, comments, concerns? If not, ask Secretary to call a roll.
Chair Candler,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bauer,
Yes.
Mr. Bowman,
Yes.
Mr. Bolin,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Oberlin.
Yes.
All members have voted.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next, we'll have the report of the Executive Director, Rob Blackshaw. Rob, you want to come up and give us your report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Commission members. I'll go over a few documents and updates of things that are happening here around the Capitol building. The first thing I want to talk about today is the pediment lighting. This was a project that we are supposed to have completed in August, but unfortunately, due to prolonged effect of supply chain management issues, the equipment didn't arrive in time, so we weren't able to schedule the installation of the north and south pediment installation, as well as the replacement of the one on the east. Fortunately, the parts are all here. We are testing the lighting as we speak, and we do have a new schedule for that, and I'll share that with you today. The north pediment is scheduled for October 19th and 20th. During this period, you'll see a very large crane that'll be set up on the north annex dock that'll extend up to the north pediment. Immediately following, we will move in for the repair of the east pediment. And the reason we're doing that, we've had some moisture get up into the east, and some of the lights will go on and off. Being that the lights are LED and act like a computer now, we want to replace those instead of just going up and filling the hole with some kind of a silicone. We think that replacing it is the best for longevity of the lighting. Anyway, we'll be replacing that on October 23rd and 24th with a smaller crane that'll eliminate any more damage that we have experienced in the past with the large cranes. And then for the south pediment installation for the brand new, that'll follow those dates on October 25th and 26th, also using a smaller crane. So by the end of October, all of the pediments around the entire perimeter of the Capitol will be lit. And we know that really adds an extra feature when you look at those lights. The next topic I'd like to talk about is the Heritage Hall flooring. As previously discussed, the burgundy carpet in the atrium and the staterooms of Heritage Hall have not performed well at all. We have been looking into this for quite some time. In fact, there is a handout in front of you that you see today. These were the designs that were presented and approved in 2022. What we'd like to do is get permission to move forward with this. We have already reserved dates for the last 2 weeks of July and the first 2 weeks of August in 2024. That'll give us enough time, even with a little extra time built in, to replace the burgundy carpet in these areas. And if we want to go through this document just real briefly, there's a narrative on page 1 that kind of talks about how we got to where we are today. The diagram on the right shows the proposed layout in the area for the work. As you turn the page, you'll see where there's a custom carpet design. So what we did, we worked with our designers and took some carpets from the actual Capitol building and found kind of a hybrid approach that brings in more of a modern feel, which Heritage Hall brings us, but ties in some of the traditional aspects from the Capitol building to tie it in together. If you turn the page again, you'll start seeing the layout blown up a little bit, and it kind of gives you a computer graphic of what it will actually look like. And as you flip through the document, you'll see some renderings of how it's supposed to look, as well as different types of terrazzo that we've used in Heritage Hall and some that we'll use moving forward on this project. So without any disagreement or questions, I would just like to know if this is something we can move forward with, so we can start locking in those dates now, because there are lead times and starting ordering of materials.
Yeah, Rob, that's something we've been discussing basically from day one, and the commission has asked you to investigate and make recommendations. So unless anybody in the commission has any questions or concerns, I think, yes, we do want you to continue on, move ahead, and lay the plans out for next July.
Sounds good. So I'll work on scheduling, start finalizing budgets, and once those all come back to me, I'll bring this back to the commission with an update on this piece. Thank you.
Thank you. Please do that.
The next document I have in front of you is quite a large document, and this is the landscape master plan. So I provided, it's a final draft ready for adoption, but I'm not asking for adoption today because this is quite a large document that I would like you to review. But we found it necessary to update this document after all the changes that have been made onto the Capitol grounds. But the intent of this document is to provide some guidance and some recommendations related to future decisions for work on the Capitol grounds. So just to highlight it real briefly, the main goals of this document are to maintain and enhance the public image and accessibility of Capitol Square, to preserve, restore distinguishing original qualities of Capitol Square, to respect the evolutionary changes that have acquired significance in their own right, and then lastly, provide a framework for evaluation and decision-making related to the future needs of different opportunities. So as you go through this, and again, it is pretty lengthy, but we took the master plan that Dick Frank put together after the restoration and took most of those concepts, if not all, and adopted those to today's Capitol Square layout, in addition with the policies and procedures that were voted on with the Capitol Committee and the Capitol Commission over time, and have incorporated all into one document. So my hope is after the commission has had a chance to review it for a month, I will come back in October and ask for questions or any modifications. And if there aren't any, then I'll ask for an adoption to make this our final landscape master plan for the
Thanks, Rob. I have just one general question at this point. How extensive are the changes, from the Dick Frank plan to what we've got in front of us, just generally?
There really aren't a lot of changes. One of the main changes that I noticed that the master plan of Dick Frank was to bring back an alley of trees, which is 2 on each side. But when you get to Ottawa and Allegan, there's so much infrastructure underground now with fiber optics and computer wires to find the footprint to put an alley of trees there really isn't reasonable. So we are thinking putting a single row of trees, not the species type of trees, but the placement of the trees to accommodate for all the infrastructure that's underground. In addition, when you go to the west side, we have the parking lot that we have added, so there's some low-scape areas we put there, but it explains it in more detail as you go through this document. There are a few layouts which highlight that differences.
Yeah, it's too bad. I really do like the alley, double alley of trees. It's really very impressive, but
I think we all do, even the landscape architect, but even as we tried to put in the single layer of trees during this, it was really threading the needle. And we are fortunate we didn't take out fiber optics just by putting in one row of trees. So by putting in two, we think the probability of damage would be likely.
great, thanks. Any other questions on this issue? Okay, Rob, what do you got next for us?
Okay, I'm just going to give a few updates on the active projects that are here. The first one is the third floor toilet rooms or restrooms, because I know people don't like me saying that. So, sorry, I meant to write just restrooms. Anyway, the project is nearing completion. We're successful in routing out or cleaning out the old plumbing that was bringing us issues without any further incident. So we feel successful with that piece of it. The areas are being painted actually today, and the remainder of the hardware will be installed and then open back to the general public within weeks. So that project is coming to an end. We feel pretty good about it. As far as the Rotunda project goes, this is our major project that's going to be going on for quite some time yet. Actually, we have it forecasted through next June. But the painters, the conservators, and the cleaners are all working away behind the scenes and on the scaffolding. The cleaners have already made a big impact on the 6th, 7th, and 8th levels. In fact, when you go up there, there's some areas that look like that was already painted. There was just that much soot and dirt sitting on these surfaces that it really brought out some pretty vibrant colors. The conservators have made their way and they've done final analyses on the condition of the allegorical figures that are in the rotunda, and they've submitted their treatment plans as well as what materials will be used. This is the different types of varnishes, so we're all having conversations as do we remove the old varnish and put new varnish on, and what's the viability of the life expectancy of it. So those are all currently under review, and once approved, that portion of the project will continue.
Rob, at what point will that information be available to the commission?
As soon as I learn it, I'll share something each month, but these are active things, so every month I'll give a little more detailed update. And then the painters, they've all worked on their color matching and have submitted samples for approval, and once those are approved, the painters will start arriving and actually doing some of the painting. They're actually up there now doing some scraping of some paint that is already delaminated from the metal up there, and if you go up there, you'd kind of be in shock when you see bare metal, but this was part of the restoration of it. So, but to see it live sometimes brings you pause, as it did me. The good news is the fire system has been completely updated, and we've added new building controls up in the dome areas at the 6th, 7th, and 8th levels that'll help us measure heat and humidity into the dome. That'll help us control what's going on. We know we're adding window film on the 6 levels, but we did come into a situation recently that we're going to explore. There are windows that reflect to the back of the tin, I would call it between the 6th and the 7th levels. These are areas that have created a small hole in an area which you can feel the heat with the touch of your hand, but we're now thinking maybe this is an area where we rescreen those windows, because right now, looking through these windows, you see nothing but the back of the interstitial space of the dome anyway. But by screening it, it'll help reduce the heat on the surface temperature of the dome, which paint is directly adhered to. So that's something that we'll be exploring, and I'll update all information that I have with that as
What kind of
well.
screening would that be? Like the screening, the laminate stuff that goes right on the glass? Or are you talking about like a window screen?
Well, that's something we both went back and forth. At first, I thought of a window tint, but they say window tint can overheat. So that'll overheat the surface temperature of the actual dome itself. So then there's talk of a cloth screen, some type of a window screen, and even like where there's holes have developed from the heat, putting up some kind of an HVAC tape to help prevent it there too. So these are all items that we'll be exploring with Chad and Ben and the team over the next week or so, and hopefully come up with a viable solution to help eliminate that problem. So that's what I have for that major project. The next topic I'd like to talk about is the 4th floor west wing ceilings. as we continue to evaluate different areas of the Capitol that we'll start working on next, these areas are needing the most attention. As when you look at it, it's not only the paint delaminating, we have some pretty bad plaster issues up there too. So we're starting to gather information and evaluate not only the conditions of the paint, but the plaster as well, because it's our initial feeling that we're gonna have to replace very large chunks of plaster, if not the entire ceiling of the floor west wing immediately as you come in off of the dome. But I said, we'll start exploring this a little bit further. I've talked to Doug Simon in the House and saying if we do get up there, we won't interfere with the operations of any committees that are up there, but we will have to put up scaffold, and we'll also work on the room where their house television reside, because we know over the years there's been water issues that have gone down the cornice, but we feel we've rectified all those water issues, and we think now is a point we can finally address those and replace those the right way. So this is the next area I'll be targeting. We do know that the ceiling of the House and Senate chambers will probably follow closely, but if you ever have the chance to go up there and take a look at the ceiling, you'll know right away why we believe we need to take care of this one immediately. So I wanted to share that with the commission, so you're aware of it, and then again, I will keep you updated as I gather more information on this project. One last thing I'd like to mention before I ask for questions is the long wait of turning Allegan and Ottawa Street to two-way. I recently come to my attention that the conversation of this has been delayed again. Now, I say that with a little bit of frustration only because when we designed Heritage Hall, it was designed to have the streets two-way, and then the buses could come in from the west, drop off the students with the door facing Heritage Hall doors, and leave traveling east. Well, it seems the City of Lansing has received a grant that will allow them to start working on a project that'll remove the east lane or the northbound lane section of Martin Luther King between Kalamazoo and Saginaw Streets, which will essentially turn MLK into a two-way street without a boulevard. So they're getting all of that real estate back. But this project is now scheduled for next construction season, which pushes us out, let's say, a year from today at best. There, where in Allegan and Ottawa will become a two-way street. Again, this impacts the design. We're making it work right now, and we'll continue to make it work. I don't know if there's any way around this, but I wanted to bring this to your attention before you ask me, hey, when are we going two-way streets again? And unfortunately, I don't have that answer.
Hey, when we go to two-way streets?
Yes. So I want to make sure I shared that with you, so in case anyone asks you, you're aware of what's going on.
That's important to the bus drivers, because as Rob will tell you, they have a hard time getting them to agree to go the wrong way on one-way street to come through into the turnaround correctly.
That's right. That's all the updates I have for today, unless there's any
Question from
questions.
Commissioner
That was
Bauer.
going to be my question. How do they do that now?
How they do what?
Bus
Excuse me.
drivers. I just had to drop someone off, and I could get my car like,
Some buses
But you
are just
couldn't-
dropping off at the curb. Some buses won't even come down there right now, because even when you drop them off on the right-hand side, you're dropping them off into a planter bed. We put planter stops because as soon as they hit the rough aggregate piece of the concrete, our heating system is under there, and if you get too much weight, it'll hurt our snow melt system. So we put in blockades because we had a couple times cars pulled up right to the edge of the stairs. And we're like, okay, don't go down the stairs, number one. Number two, you need to prevent the blockade.
you saw me. No.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna give any names today, but, so we're working with it, and we're trying to just direct buses to the street or Walnut Street for now, and then walk in. And then once that happens, we'll change on our web pages for the tour guides, and even as they call the schools to remind them, hey, here's where you park for now. And again, when that changes, we can change the narrative when we have discussions with them.
Thanks. Any other questions, comments?
I just have one comment.
Commissioner Bauer.
You know, I think we get, I don't even mean take for granted, but we get used to this beautiful building, how well it's maintained. I had some guests from Seattle this week, and George Scott, he's a former senator, state senator in state of Washington. He was the state archivist. So Valerie gave us a tour of the Capitol, but he's been to practically every Capitol in the United States. He just could not say enough positive things about our Capitol. He thought the restoration was stunning. he kept saying it's so clean. You know, he said everything is so clean. The grounds so well maintained. And so I just wanted to pass that on. Again, I think this is a person from another state who's gone to lots of capitals, and how proud I was taking him through when he was so impressed. So
Appreciate it.
thank you
Well,
to
thanks
everybody
all back to you as the commission
who
for
makes that
allowing
happen,
us
though.
to bring the right people on board. So, thank you.
I want to make one other point, too. This is, I'm glad you brought that up, because really that's very much a reflection of the staff we have working here. The people, all the people working here in this building take pride in it. They not only have the job they have, which could be in a lot of places, they're proud they're doing it in the Capitol building. This Capitol building's been restored. They all care about it. It's well managed. All of our managers do a great job of managing the staff and the operations. We just have a really fortunate situation here, and the result is what you see, clean, well restored. We appreciate that. Any other questions, comments? Any other business, new business that we didn't bring up yet? Anybody? No? Anybody in the public wish to make a comment? Nobody? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support? Anybody support the motion? Moved and supported. Without objection, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you.